can be quite discouraging knowing that you have to wait almost a whole year, if not more, just to get a trademark. So, do you think there are any institutional systems or frameworks that can either fasten up this system, or do we just have to take it as it is?
IP, when created, must be used for commercial purpose.
Of course.
Only for commercial purpose, then
There's no use.
there's no use.
Yeah.
Most times you go and make a pitch, but you've not done an IP registration. That person is definitely going to steal your work. There's also no trace or documentation
For you to show that.
Yes. So there's a lot of things, but I know that startups don't like to pay lawyers. So you ask for an invoice and
Pay your lawyers to help you avoid all these troubles. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode on ROCH Playbook for Businesses. We're here again to educate you and enlighten you on a very, very interesting and important topic: intellectual property for startups. And today, I would not be having this conversation by myself. I am honored to be interviewing a renowned and globally recognized IP expert. She is a lecturer at the River State University of Science and Technology. She is a recent recipient of the IP Awards and also the proud founder of IB Series. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Rita Anwiri. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Miss Rita. How are you doing today? Welcome to ROCH. Welcome to ROCH Playbook for Businesses.
oh, nice. I see a trademark already.
You see, like she has spoken like a true IP expert. She's already started to see the trademark. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation. So today we're just going to be having a conversation on intellectual property for startups. And a brief background, guys. A startup under the Nigerian Startup Act is essentially any business that carries on its objective like innovations or commercialization or promotion of digital products or processes. They must be registered as a limited liability company with the Corporate Affairs Commission, and they must have been in existence for not more than 10 years from the date of its incorporation to qualify as a startup under the Nigerian laws. So today we're going to be talking about your regular startups that you're aware of, like Money Point, Chowdeck, Carrywise, and a whole lot of others. So we're going to be looking at how these startups that you now know as, recognized brands have been able to protect their intellectual property, and if they've not, as a matter of fact, and how you as a founder who intends to own a startup one day can protect yourself. So, Ms. Rita, let's just dive right into it. I'm going to ask a question. Some founders that own startup believe that once they've registered their business with the Corporate Affairs Commission, they can fold their hands and go on, and then just go about looking for funds for their startups. What is the reality of this assumption that once you've registered your business with CEC, you're good to go?
Okay, that's a very interesting conversation because I believe this year Nigerian creative sector, business sector started with a lot of trademark related cases. And we had one that was very popular last year. So I saw an article and the title basically just came at me and it was fast registration, weak protection. So with CAC registration it's easier, quicker, whereas for IP registration such as trademark, which takes a lot of time.
Yes.
If you do not complete that aspect, that means your business is a bit shaky.
Yes.
So what trademark does for you is gives you exclusivity within Nigeria because IP is territorial in nature.
Yes.
However, you have a form of trademark which is a registered trademark where if you be using your business name for a minimum of 5 years in Nigeria, you can sue someone for passing off. So for instance, let's look at the fastest case of last year.
Yeah.
Two brands same in different locations but all in Nigeria. One has a registered trademark, one has a business name. Who do you think
As
has
protection. Yes.
right? And also the fact that for a startup we are looking for funding other than immediate family and crowdfunding. You want to upscale. Most investors would rather invest in a startup that has a registered ID because it tells them that you have a long-term goal, you are thinking about the future, you're not short-sighted about your business. So you need to understand first what trademark protects before you start going around and screaming that, oh, I had a registered trademark. So if it's just the name of the business, trademark protects
The
names,
names, yes.
right? And if the name is going to cause confusion within your consumers, and you've proved that if consumer A or party A sees this name on this product or a service, they can confuse it with yours. And
For
that
girls,
means
yes.
there is likelihood of confusion. Two of the requirements for a trademark protection in Nigeria is that the mark in question should be distinctive enough
Okay.
and be able to distinguish brand A from brand B.
Branding. Okay.
So that means you enjoy a lot more backing of the law and protection when you have a trademark and you have a business registration. I think there's something that most Nigerians, no, I think most Nigerians confuse because when I do some consultation for people that are willing to pay, there's this perception that once you have an acceptance letter or an acknowledgement letter, you have a registered trademark. You do not have a registered trademark
Oh, I
assistant
see.
because trademark registration takes between 16
So 18 months.
to 18 months or 12 to 18 months or 12 to 24 months, depending on what's happening at the registry. So there's a stage in trademark registration known as the opposition stage, and if anybody is willing to look at the trademark act, you see it stated there that that opposition stage lasts for 2 months, is where you have third parties who feel that your registration is similar to
Yes,
theirs.
on my infringement, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I do recall a case that came on during the pandemic where Apple, everybody knows Apple, right?
Yes, yes.
Where Apple Inc. opposed registration of another brand because their logo was similar
So the Apple
to theirs.
logo.
So interestingly, their logo was a pear but was half beaten.
Oh,
Apple
it's half beaten Apple.
Half beaten. Right?
Yes.
You also have they also opposed another registration. Somebody named their clothing line Apple and they sued.
Oh, I see.
So for us in Nigeria, I usually tell people that the name you use matters a lot. You have to think.
Think about
Yeah.
it.
So you have a category of trademark registration for so either is a pointful or fanciful name where nobody would think that, oh, how did you even come up with this name? So
Yes.
let's use I want to say PPP, but let's use money points.
Yeah, money
or
points.
Carry wise or the club, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Dangote, Nine Mobile, MTN,
MTN,
all of those things. How do you see that to say, oh, I want to name my business?
Yes.
So if you're not creative enough, you end up coming up with a descriptive name. Descriptive basically means if I hear the name of your brand, I already know what your
You're
brand
about.
is. Yeah, so
True.
it's not your registration is a bit weak.
So this leads me to my next question because there was something you mentioned while you were answering the first one. Essentially, you mentioned that it takes a while between either 12 to 18 months or 16 to 18 months. And it can be quite discouraging knowing that you have to wait almost a whole year, if not more, just to get a trademark. So, do you think there are any institutional systems or frameworks that can either fasten up this system, or do we just have to take it as it is?
So I guess what I'm going to say is most times you find out that startups and business owners do not think of lawyers before they get to go into the market. Some might just mention, well, have you considered trademark? And they go, oh no, and then that's when you're reaching out to your lawyer. Right? So I had an instance where someone was referred to me, and I was like, okay, you have to competition and all that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, what's the timeline for registration? And I said, oh, 12 to 16 or 16 to 18 months or 24 months, depending on what's going on the registry. And he goes, no, that's not possible. That's it's good to someone, and he told him to get his certificate in 2 weeks. I'm like,
2 weeks.
I'm not sure which certificate I'm going to get, but I really know
Even
that
CAC registrations are not 2
yeah,
weeks.
so there's that disconnect between startups and lawyers. And also, I would say awareness because all of the agencies from trademark registry to CAC to the startup council, there's a lot of awareness as to that shift changed post COVID because everybody had to sit at home and then start thinking as to how do we proceed from this? Like, everybody just
How
understand.
do we set?
Yeah. But you find out that most jurisdictions which were already advanced, because most times when you're having tech conversation, everyone was talking about the Silicon Valley, right?
Mm-hmm.
But over the last 5 years, we've seen Nigerian startups like Paystack and the rest of them, coming up,
Coming up, yeah.
yeah, and doing billions of dollars. So we're out there, but when you bring it back home locally, people are not, they're not.
Receptive.
So I created software, and softwares could be considered can fall under either copyright or patent. Patent for us in Nigeria is a bit technical because currently our patent law do not have provisions for protecting software expressly. However,
Oh,
during
okay.
the pandemic, because
Yes.
of what was happening, they had
Mm-hmm.
to come up with a utility patent model where you can protect your
Your,
business, your
yes,
service
yes,
as
yes.
patent.
Under that.
Right. Whereas for that jurisdiction, a software could either be patented or copyrighted.
Oh, okay.
For
Okay.
instance, Google case is a clear example of that,
Yeah.
where 11,500 lines of code were stolen. And the court held that it wasn't stolen, it was more or less like failing. So you need to understand those nuances of common terms where what is considered to be public domain. Public domain
Yes.
for the IP context is the work has expired and it's free
For
for everybody,
everybody to use, yes.
right? Open source is there are terms and conditions for you to use those codes
Okay.
to build yours, but you must comply with the terms as
As
provided,
provided, of course.
right? Then you also have instances where you were expected to either assign
Okay.
or license. So you've been commissioned to do the work,
Mm-hmm.
and you do not have a contract. Because I know that most times when you're dealing with developers, they tend to lock you through the back door so you don't
Yes,
have
have
access. But when
access.
you have a
Yes.
contract with them, stating that when you create this product, you have to
And
assign
it's
it to
clear,
them.
of course.
You can't come out tomorrow to say it belongs to you.
Of course.
Right? There's
Of course.
also the fact that most startup owners and business owners do not want to even learn what IP is. I think IP now became a buzzword. Not I think. IP became, yes, because
Yes,
now
but
everybody's an
recently,
IP
yes.
expert. I tell people most times that a non-disclosure agreement will not protect you against an investor that wants to take advantage of you. If you have not read, because most times you go and make a pitch, but you've not done an IP registration, that person is definitely going to steal your work. There's also no trace of documentation from your
For you
own
to show
end.
that
Yes.
it
So
was
when you come
yours.
out and say, "Oh, I went to make a pitch,"
And this
then
person stole my
yeah,
idea.
one product can have a multi-layered IP protection, not just copyright. Copyright for literary artistic elements,
Mm-hmm.
trademark for the
Trademark,
name,
yes.
slogan, tagline, design.
Patent if there was an innovation.
Yes,
Yes.
industrial design for the aesthetic features
Of,
of shapes,
the yes
right?
products.
Trade secret for the confidential information that will give you an edge within your sector. Startups don't like to pay lawyers. So you ask for an invoice and
Pay your lawyers to help you avoid all these troubles.
you ask for an invoice and you get so when I was talking about the international registration, people were like I want to do a patent and trademark. I'm like, I was seeing dollars that time, right? Because almost 54 countries.
Yes.
What do you mean?
That's a lot.
So
That's
when
a
the
lot.
person saw
The invoice
yeah, I didn't get my like. I mean, I did tell you
that it was going to cost a
it
lot.
was going to cost you a lot.
Yes.
So you also find that most startups have this very beautiful
Idea.
of oh, I want to be known globally.
Yes.
With trademark, if you do not consistently commercialize the use of that mark within a particular jurisdiction, for instance, in the UK, I think it's 3 years.
Yes.
So if you don't consistently use, someone can apply for your registration to be revoked or
Or
cancelled. Your
cancel.
patent can also be revoked if
Oh.
yeah. So
Oh, I see.
it's when you need to also have. I mean, while you have your technical and brand strategies, you also need a lawyer
To
that
help you.
invests in
Yes.
intellectual. But don't look for a general. Because one thing that Nigerians like to take advantage. You just assume that one lawyer can do
Everything. So
and then you're not even paying the money's worth for that person's
services.
so you
Yes.
expect that person should give you
Premium A service.
yeah, right? So some persons have this opinion that lawyers are too much in Nigeria, and so we're not even. It's kind of like a conversation with doctors and patients.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have enough lawyers to cater to every because if you look at it, we still have places that are still underdeveloped. If you travel by road, you see a lot of. I mean, you're passing a lot of bushes
Mm-hmm.
with no
Mm-hmm.
companies inside,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
So let's take a look at Port Harcourt. How
Yeah.
many companies are here? You see more of the real estate companies springing up. And I keep
Sure.
saying we have
A whole lot of
more
them.
companies in real estate than companies that are actually going to generate those revenue.
Revenue.
So what do you do to change that magic? I'm creating a product. Is that product tailored to solve a Port Harcourt issue or River State issue or
Mm.
even a Nigerian issue? We like to westernize
Our
products,
ideas.
yes, or services as it may be. So during festive periods, especially during Easter, Black Fridays,
Mm-hmm.
and Christmas, um, you find out that more counterfeited products gets into your country because a lot of people are trying to get
Black Friday
products,
sales.
yeah, at a
Yes.
cheaper rate. They're trying to get
Yes.
gifts for friends and
Yes.
families and stuff like that.
Of
So
course.
there's a lot of work to be done,
Mm-hmm.
right, in terms of I would say education, but how many persons are willing
Are
to get
willing
into it?
to,
Because now you have more AI videos and AI pictures that you don't know what is real and
and what is fake
what
anymore?
is
I
fake
mean,
anymore. But you
sure.
also have instances where, for instance, in the US, if you are an influencer, you are expected to disclose that
You are an influencer.
yeah, you're influencing from this brand. You also
Okay,
find out that
yes, yes,
some
yes.
brands do not even permit, like they don't even want to see their brands being featured in
Without,
video or
yes,
pictures without you acknowledging them.
of course.
Even a hashtag as well could be problematic depending
Wow.
on the jurisdiction. So moves are being made,
Of
right?
course,
If you
yes.
follow Minister Hannah too, I like her a lot because of how
I
she's so
active
popular,
in the
yeah,
creative
and
economy,
she's carrying the narrative of all the
of
Nigerian
course.
cultural heritage, the entertainment
Yes.
creative sector, doing a lot. But then, how many persons have access to those funding?
Or are even aware of these protections and how they should go about it, right? Because when I was looking through the National Intellectual Property Protection System that you mentioned, the NIPS, right, I saw that one of the primary goal of most of the provisions there is they're trying to create awareness because a lot of people, are not really aware of the incentives. I mean, for instance, the Nigerian Tax Act that you mentioned, when we got a copy of that, I looked at the volume. I said, "My God, will I sit down
You have
and read
to.
this section by section to understand?" But yes, of course, we did that because we have an episode on the Nigerian Tax Act. Thanks to our managing partner that was able to review that and have a conversation on that. But that's to tell you that a lot of people just feel, "I will wing it.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you
I'll
look
just wing
at
it."
the business, how the yes, business is structured, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have the SMEs, you have the MSMEs, then you now
Yes,
have those mushroom.
very. That just barely.
They're not thinking of business name. I mean, right now, I would say thanks to money points, even though money points is being dragged for something
A
that
whole
we
lot.
did, right? But everybody now has a money points
Okay,
POS.
yes,
So that
yes.
means you have to do a business
A
registration.
registration
I know
before.
that last year CAC did, I think they started it 2 years ago or last 3 years, where they give like slot for discounted registration for businesses, for people who own
Oh,
businesses, right?
yes.
So that awareness is there.
Is there?
But I go and tell someone that owns a kiosk, I tell the man on like, you need to trademark, go and trademark a Musa kiosk, and he's looking at me like,
What are you talking about?
and you say, oh, this is how much. I'm like,
Ah,
madam,
madam,
and the price of my
my
rent,
entire shop
my
combined
rent is
together.
that.
Yes.
I would say that IP, um, not to be condescending, but I believe IP is for brands who think long term.
Far. True.
I want to go
Long term.
long
Not
term,
just day to day
right? So
survival.
if you look at brands that have lasted 100 years and counting,
Mm-hmm.
what did they do? They had to always rebrand, structure,
And protect
change
the
their
brand.
governance,
Yes.
compliance. So you have to think bigger. Like, okay, let's use. 'Cause, okay, this lady is being dragged because of her course effect.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
Oh,
follow her content, but I think once the wife has crossed, she has a product that
she does.
yeah,
Dang. Yes, that's her
yeah.
product in Dang.
So
Yeah. Skincare
she has
and all
built a
that.
community to the point of creating products. Now,
Of
how many?
course.
So if you look at startups, what product have you built that you can scale up to the fact to the point where
You
you
have
have
loyal followers
loyal followers
who
that
are ready
say,
to die on your mountain.
okay, Rihanna is the one that anybody ready to
Uh,
die on the
Fancy. We
Fenty.
don't joke with Fancy.
Oh my god. But let's look at older Nigerian brands,
Yeah.
the likes of Tara.
Yes.
Zara. I know
Yeah.
when I was younger, I used to go all the way to every road to go and get my Zara.
Products, Zara
Yeah, my
products.
Zara products. So it was crazy, right? And then Tara,
Yes.
that's for the beauty aspect, right? But you find out that most times some of the startups that cater to non-popular industries,
We
nobody
don't
really paying attention to
we don't
them,
get that much attention.
right? And because of IP such as trademark that gives you like a limited form of protection, it's easy for you to just exist for a period of time until you're able to restructure yourself to get the funding to get to a proper legal team that
Yeah.
caters to different things, IP, tax, distribution, governance,
And
compliance,
just
regulatory
yes,
compliance, and
make sure that you're up
team.
to
Yeah.
grade. So I mean, the conversation has been, I mean, wonderful, right? But just to give them some form of remedy, provided or assuming they listen to your advice and actually try to ensure that they protect themselves in terms of their intellectual property, assuming they have an infringement, right? Like the instances you've mentioned where Apple had to sue someone because they used Apple name for one of their clothing line and all that. What are the quick remedies they can have? Is it just I go to court and I involve a lawyer, of course, to go to court and sue for trademark infringement, or are there other things they can do, especially given cross-border infringements that may happen?
You have to think like a business person
Mm-hmm.
first. You're a lawyer that embraced with briefed with that project. You have to think like it. So what is the best alternative? Like,
Mm-hmm.
there are ways for resolving IP related disputes. First, before going to court, before setting ring lights, right? Me
Very important before setting ring
before
glasses.
setting ring light and saying, I've trademarked your name in 42 classes.
Very important.
Don't do
Yes.
that. It's
Yes.
waste of money. It's not waste
Waste
of
of time.
money. It's waste of time because you're
Yes.
basically not going to have 42 business.
Of course.
But first off is to send a cease and desist. So I have a brand.
Okay.
Once in a while, I search my brand.
Okay.
And on more than two occasions, I've had to send an informal cease and desist, not a letter, more like a DM, like, hi, my name is Rita.
This is my brand, and this is what you did.
Right.
Cease
I've
and
even had to
desist.
stop one person who was very rude
Ah,
and trying to teach me IP. I just say, anyways.
yeah.
So I had an interesting case last year, and I think I video a series about where my image was used without my consent.
Oh.
So I sent the first person the message. So basically, cease and desist, right? Stating just introduce yourself and tell them you're the owner. You have
This, and you saw that whatever
so
you're
the
doing.
number of days should be limited. You
Of
have
course.
this day number of days,
14 days or
14 days
7
to
working days.
comply with taking down
That particular
that
thing that is
particular
infringing on
post
your
if it's
IP.
online
Yes.
or stop using the product, stop using my name,
Mm-hmm.
etc. Not ring lights. I'm giving you 14 days. You will hear from my SA. Don't do that. Tell the lawyer knows what to do.
Of course. Just engage a lawyer.
Yeah, so when
Yes.
they fail to comply, you then institute an infringement
Okay.
lawsuit
Yeah.
at the Federal High Court, right? You can also submit to mediation or arbitration. I tell people that arbitration is for huge commercial transactions.
A lot of big companies don't even want
Yes,
litigation.
it also depends on the subject matter, the type of IP in question.
Yes.
Would exploring that resolution method be viable? I think this year the highest claim of damage the court has issued was I think about 200 million against
Oh.
Airtel for using
Oh yes, I think I saw that.
Nigeria the better.
To go better.
Yeah, and you also need to show and prove that the
You
IP in
actually
question
own
belongs to
it.
you at the end of the day.
Mm.
There is also a count of profit where whatever profit you made from using that IP,
You have to
be
give it
given
back
back
to
to the
the owner.
person. You can also get an injunction restraining the person from further using. The one I love the most is destruction. It's not like I like violence. It's just to teach you a lesson.
Of course.
I think going to court gives us precedent.
Yes,
But
of
from the
course.
business perspective, ADR
Maybe
mechanisms
the
are
best.
always the best. Not because I'm an arbitrator, but because I like peace. I'm a very peaceful person.
We agree.
Yeah.
We agree
So
with that. Thank you very much, Miss Rita. So all in all, it is important that once you have an idea and you want to bring that idea to life, engage a lawyer, especially
Lawyer
one
that is versed in
versed, yes,
IP.
especially one that is versed in protecting your business, your intellectual property. They will do due diligence and ensure that your business and your intellectual property becomes compliant with the existing laws and systems and frameworks that we have in place. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is all from us today on ROCH Playbook for Businesses. And like Miss Rita has extensively said, please protect your intellectual property as a startup, as a business owner. Engage the services of a lawyer to ensure that you are covered under the umbrella of IP protection. I want to say a big thank you to our IP award-winning star, Miss Rita Anwiri, for being with us today at Rock for this episode on Rock Playbook for Businesses. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, do stay tuned to Rock Playbook for Businesses. Thank you.
Hey.
Bye.